Dynamite download.
AEW 2020, John Silver.
Special event, as you can see, SPD.
For a splashing good time. January recruitment month for them.
I come along, I come along in the ring.
I mean, I would not want to hear that. I would not. We got great this year at SPD.
Welcome to Dynamite.
You are innocence personified, and I will
Man, we're gonna do this for Sammy.
Oh, he said it.
That's what I'm talking about. Starting the show off right, man.
December snow. I have carved out this soul made of stone, and I will drag you down.
Yeah, sing along, brothers.
Got some beer on my camera.
Down by the demons I fight. What have I become? Now that I've been trained.
Everyone I've ever loved, I pushed them all away. Sing it, Mike.
I'm a slave, and the Judas in my mind.
Yes.
There's something left for me to say.
For the refuge of my life, Man, this song is a banger, dude. I
Oh
love this
man, I
song,
can't.
dude.
Welcome
What's
to Friday night flights and fights. Another
Oof.
edition. This is episode 5. Thank you all for joining us on this Friday night. Grabbing your late night happy hour. Where we're going to talk all things wrestling. We got a special first edition of Booking by Bonds. We dive deep into that later on in the show. We started it off last week with Jungle Boy, Tarzan Boy. That song is still stuck in my head. And Judas and, Crayfish and I are lucky enough to be going down to Jacksonville next week. And as of now, Jericho is not set to make an appearance, but he will after what happened with Sammy. Whoa! Speaking of Sammy,
Word of the day.
that is our key word. That is the bonus word to take a sip of your favorite beverage tonight on Friday Night Flights and Fights. So hopefully we get to see Jericho so we can sing along to Judas, because that is a true treat to do that live. So welcome. I'm SPD. We got Crayfish and Bonds, the Team Dynamite download, the Dukes of Dynamite. Thank you all for joining us, everyone. Let's dive right into it. I mean, we talked about Sammy.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about Judas, the Inner Circle, and
Yes.
Sammy.
Oh, I see how you're going here.
We
Who?
It was pretty crazy. I mean, that was
Long show.
I said on our Dynamite download episode 21 2 days ago that he grew his character about tenfolds to me. We expected this to come, but not this soon for the Spanish God himself. But
Creative way to get around that.
I was very surprised and very happy and very excited. And what was really the cherry on top for me was him going through the babyface tunnel, which I talked about on our show. I mean, I always catch those little nuances, but one thing I did miss was the Hangman contract swap, which we can talk about later. But I did not miss him leaving out of the babyface tunnel. And he finally stood up to MJF and Jericho and the rest of the Inner Circle. And, gentlemen, when do you think we're going to see Sammy next?
I think it would be a disservice not see him next week.
You missed it.
Shoot! Dang it! Drink Patrol.
I think we should see him next week. I think this was too big of a moment for his career to just kind of let it soak in. I think that he's hot right now, and you got to strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
I think that's key in wrestling sometimes. And
I'm gonna
he's
agree to
a superstar.
disagree, bro. I mean, I agree on the sense that Sammy is El Fuego right now.
Oh,
That dude. Man.
That
Oh
is
my
our.
gosh, I gotta be careful. Okay,
That's word is the drink word.
You guys want to talk about something else real quick?
No. I'm gonna get through this segment, drunk or not. So, no, I'm gonna say the main reason why I think they need to hold off a little bit, and I think, one of the things as a diehard AEW fan, I will say, the only thing I would tell from a product standpoint, I think that AEW needs to sometimes let some things breathe a little bit. Sometimes less is more. And Sammy had a very impactful. Dang it! Oh my gosh!
Let's open another one up here soon.
He had a very impactful segment and multiple segments this last week, and SPD said it. I mean, it's been brewing for a long time. Him, kind of standing up for himself. We saw the little things like that playing out over the last few weeks and months, but this was really the culmination of it all. For me as a fan, I'd like the Inner Circle turmoil to continue for a little bit, build up to a little things, and I'd like to see Sammy held off of. Dang it!
Oh gosh,
I'd like to see him held off TV until Revolution. To me, I'd like to. I believe that the way that this is playing out, the writing is on the wall, to steal a phrase from SPD, that he's gonna get involved some way, shape, or form and cost Jericho and MJF the tag titles. I think it's sometimes the obvious thing is the best thing, and I think that this is a perfect way to sort of really stab that dagger through the heart of the Inner Circle. Definitely. And prove that he's done. I don't know, man, and I don't know about you guys. I know that we got some fans in the chat who are fellow Santana and Ortiz fans, and we got this matchup with the Bucks coming up at Dynamite next week, and I know I'm not alone. I kind of want to see the upset. I really think that from a storyline perspective, the Bucks, if the Bucks they lost their title, and I'm going on a tangent here, fellas, so cut me off if I'm getting too far into this thing. But if the Bucks somehow, if the Good Brothers cost the Bucks that match, you have the perfect that storyline is already very much drama filled. Mm-hmm. And I think that if Santana and Ortiz elevated and Santana and Ortiz elevated and they won this match, and then you had that drama with the Inner Circle with, literally MJF and Jericho going against Santana and Ortiz. I don't know, man. I think that is some compelling stuff. Sure. And it would have me hooked. I mean, we always talk about those breadcrumbs, brother. They'd be throwing whole loaves of bread at me, man. I'd be chomping it up.
Mike, are you ready for Inner Circle to be done then? Because I think that once you have that go down, they're done, and I don't know if that's too quick. You know what I mean? I don't know, because that's then maybe what is the Inner Circle? Then it's gonna be Wardlow and Hager and Jericho and MJF. Would that be the current, or would that be what ends up being the Inner Circle, or are they just gonna be something different? Because
I'm all for
I'm with you, mine.
Random title change. Essentially random title change next week on Dynamite. That will send shockwaves through the wrestling universe for sure. It will definitely lead to Revolution being the ultimate culmination and explosion of the Inner Circle. Mm-hmm. So that is obviously, I think a lot of us are on the same page, would love to see that.
And when was the last time
really doing much with their title anyways, and they're not necessarily needing it. They could have a good feud without the title with the whole Kenny and the Good Brothers and all that. So, but on the flip side, if Santana and Ortiz don't win as we all want them to win, then where do you go from there? Mm-hmm. What would you do in terms of the storyline playing out, other than, I think we're all in agreement that I think, Sammy, I have to do it, will cost MJF and Jericho their title shots or title match. I think we're all, pretty good in agreement in that. And I think that makes the best sense, either to hold them off till then, or regardless, which is less than a month, regardless, do it anyways,
I mean, here's the thing too, SPD, piggybacking off of what you said, coming up, there's a random title switch, right? Like,
Right.
When was the last time AEW had something like that? I mean, every time that they've had a championship match or a champion like lose the title, it's always been like at
Some kind of build
with a big build, right? Like sometimes having those kind of swap outs is a nice thing. And the Bucks lose. We just got done talking to Reynolds, and I know that our diehard fans out there, we went into that interview expecting SPD and I were going into there expecting 20 minutes with Reynolds, and it turned into like almost an hour. The dude was just so fascinating to talk to. But one of the things,
him off almost in a good way. In a good way. We want to take his.
He was so generous with his time and so thoughtful and amazing. But one of the things he talked about is how like he admires the Bucks and just how polished they are, and just, I mean, obviously as brothers, their chemistry is incredible. There's no taking any luster off the Bucks, bro. They don't need the belts. And I know that I had some conversations with some Twitter fans out there, and I'd like to hear like, what our fans think, but there was some like, if the Bucks lost, would there be critics of that their title reign was uneventful? And I argued back like, no, man, like if it wasn't for the Young Bucks title reign, we wouldn't have seen Top Flight. We wouldn't have seen the Acclaimed. I mean, those two teams really solidified and broke through on this show against the Bucks.
Well, so plus they put on one of the best matches against FTR.
Well, you don't have to say, yeah, exactly, brother. You know that.
Yeah, I mean, it was the top match of the year.
I agree. So I don't know. I don't think the Bucks lose anything, and I think that Santana and Ortiz, man, they could really use. I mean, those guys are. Bucks lose anything? Those guys are phenomenal. I don't know about you guys, but I've always loved Santana and Ortiz, man. I think those guys are fantastic. It would be cool. I think it would be cool to get them a little shine.
It would definitely bring a lot of buzz.
There might be an option for like this to benefit the Bucks in the storyline, because what's going on right now is we're seeing the Good Brothers get involved with them. And the Good Brothers might cost them their championships too. They're setting up multiple options for how they could lose their belts. So I think they might be the underdogs going into their match with Santana Ortiz, because you know what I mean? There's a huge the Good Brothers are, who knows what they're doing? Who knows where they're at? They're shady. Exactly. And they cost them in the Battle Royale. And that might lead into a storyline with them on Impact or on AEW. And it could lead to more stuff with Kenny. So it might fit the storyline better to have them lose their titles than keep them. It might give them more options to have matches with them instead of doing title shots and stuff like that. I don't know. To me, storyline wise, it might make sense for them to have okay, they're the good guys now. The Good Brothers betrayed them. It solidifies Matt and Nick as faces, because they're kind of in this weird middle ground right now.
Agreed.
Right. And so it solidifies them as the good guys in the match against, or in the stuff against Kenny and the Good Brothers and Kenta. And you could also see some stuff with Jon Moxley there as well. Who knows? There's a lot of options when you have them lose those titles, more than with titles.
True.
Yeah. And I think some of the fans in chat are chatting about this one. I love seeing their comments come up as we're talking here. One of the things that came up is, it's better to have Santana and Ortiz chasing for a while. Well, honestly, Santana and Ortiz hasn't been been the story of their career in AEW thus far. Is they've gotten right to that cusp. But when was the last time they got this kind of opportunity? They've been scratching and clawing. We've even seen them on Dark a lot, man. I mean, for talents like Santana and Ortiz to be featured, I mean, I love what AEW is doing. Do not get me wrong. I love what they're doing, featuring a lot of young teams, a lot of talents that we, don't necessarily see a ton, but they have a bankable commodity in Santana Ortiz, a proven commodity that we've seen in Impact. We've seen what those guys can do, man. Those guys are entertaining as it gets. Those and SPD, I know you love that tandem wrestling, that offense. Their polish and their tandem offense in the ring is phenomenal. I'm with you, Lori. Crayfish here is pushing it, and next week at Dynamite, SPD, you're gonna have to put those headphones on when you're standing next to me. I'm gonna be marking out so hard for Santana Ortiz next week. I'm gonna be cheering them on, guys. I hope that they can pull it out.
Who are you not going to be cheering for? I mean, gosh, man, that card is absolutely stacked, and we can close out the show talking.
Yeah, we should. That's a good call.
But that is definitely some great food for thought. I mean, we are all on board for that. I think we should talk about, the biggest elephant in the room is, what's going to happen with Cody. I haven't heard too much since, Arn kind of talked about it with in Coach's Corner. But is there an update on how severe it is? Has Cody came out and updated us? Do you guys know anything about that?
Well, finger on the pulse. I mean, we all have heard the rumors that he has a torn rotator cuff, and I know, if you know what kind of timeline that is, it's certainly it does not sound good for Revolution. So, we were just chatting about the impact of what would happen if Santana Ortiz were to win and how that match would play out at Revolution, man. There's a huge match that's planned for Revolution and featuring Cody. AEW is really good at pivots, but they don't have a ton of time for this. I think that they kind of had some curveballs thrown their way when Brandy was announced with her pregnancy, and I think that there were some things that were planned there between Brandy and Jade. Man, poor Jade. We're all chomping at the bit to see her this big match that she's planned for right now. Losing Cody in that is going to definitely change the dynamic of that match.
It will, but I think she's going to come out just fine. Regardless of who you put in that match, I think she's going to come out looking like a star. But yes, Cody, I mean, if you just look, I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, who he's put over. I mean, he put MJF over, Wardlow essentially kind of establishing how good he is. Brody Lee, Ricky Starks, Eddie Kingston. Darby, he's put so many people over, and he's so good at that. He's so good in the ring. And this would have been just a perfect, another notch in the belt of putting someone else over. So,
man,
I think so. The key question here that we got from you guys is that's funny, Mindrunner, the Dukes of Jacksonville. Here we go.
I love that.
Who would you replace if replacement is needed? All signs pointing towards that in the Shaq and Jade match versus Red Velvet / question mark at this point. Would you have an established someone on the roster? Would you bring in a surprise guest? What would you do if if you had to book it right now, if you're Tony Khan sitting in the war room right now and having to book it, who would you book for his replacement?
Man, that's tough. I think that if I'm going on just because there's not a lot of time and there's somebody that you could put there that's a big star like Cody, I want to put Dustin in the match.
Makes sense.
Because Dustin,
I was thinking that too.
Bigger than Cody. He would obviously he's not as big as Shaq, but it would be another big guy against Shaq. You would be able to say, like, okay, Cody's in the corner. Maybe have Cody ringside the whole time.
It makes sense.
Do something like that where you have him still involved in the match, but you have Dustin replace him, or you have somebody else in the Nightmare family do the same thing. But
yeah, Dustin's a great call. I mean, I think Dustin's a great call because he's a pro. You throw a curveball at him like this, and he'll be able to knock it out of the park. The dude is a total pro. I also thought Shoddy Lee Johnson, even though that's such a different dynamic than Cody. Shoddy, think about it. I mean, AEW has pushed very much like inclusivity, and like we don't see that very often in professional wrestling, where you'd have a main match like this featuring four people of color like that in a great showcase. So I think that would be great. I think that would be a great thing, especially with like getting the eyes on the product with Shaq coming in. I think that could be very interesting. And it would only further, like, I think a lot of the big goals that this company has. But Lori's saying Lori mentioned the AEW Heels Zoom call tonight that Cody didn't look like he was worse for wear. So let's hope, fingers crossed, that Cody is doing okay. Obviously, he is the cornerstone of this company, and I mean that dude is a total workhorse. So let's hope that this match can continue on.
I agree too. And
Ooh.
I think what you
Like
said,
that.
Mind Runner, I mean, booking by Mind Runner, booking by Bonds, we've got some, A+ bookers here that really, ride those waves. I think AEW would be, gold for many weeks and months and years to come. But I do like the Dustin. It would be an easy transition, saying, the bloodline, the brother, and all this and that.
Yeah.
And, easy to tie in with Brandy. Lee Johnson is the hot commodity at this point just because of coming off the win and all that stuff. But it makes way more sense for Dustin because he's such a polished, he can sell Shaq. He can ride off Shaq. Shotty Lee is a little bit still green, but the future is bright, but he could tell such a great story. And he's proven that for 4 decades or however many decades he's been in the ring. So I would be actually I would not be mad at all with Dustin in the ring with Shaq and Red Velvet and Jade, because I could just imagine Jade just like laying into him and the selling that Dustin would do. And he's
a safe worker. And you could trust him in the ring with somebody who like Shaq, even though Shaq's perfected that black tornado. I think that
I don't even know what that is.
It's like a Judas effect, I think, from what I saw. I think that you could trust that match, especially given how important it is with all the eyes that are going to be on it. You could really trust that it's going to go smoothly with a pro, like with an expert in the ring. And like you said, SPD, a mind for the business, a smart worker like Dustin. That's a good call.
Yeah, I think that would be very entertaining for sure. But I think let's transition to a moment that you've been working on for a while, Bonds. I think we should transition to booking by Bonds.
Yeah,
Bonds. So
people want it.
What's been on your mind all week, man? What's been on your mind?
So this is an awesome suggestion from Mind Runner and Lori. Thank you guys so much, because I had a lot of fun writing this one and thinking about this for all week. I've been texting SPD and Crayfish all week about, hey, what do you guys think about this? You guys think this is a good idea? Right. And so this match is going to be Brian Cage versus Wardlow. This is a singles run for Wardlow for the FTW championship. This is a Twitter suggestion, and this is Booking by Bonds. Welcome to the first episode of Booking by Bonds. And so without further ado, this is Wardlow's single run against Brian Cage.
Wow.
And before we start, we have to clean up some stuff because there's some storylines going on that involve Wardlow and Cage right now. Specifically, there's inner circle infighting and stuff, and Team Taz's feud with Darby, which I don't think Team Taz's feud with Darby is going to affect Cage's championship very much. It's not going to really affect the FTW championship. It's fine. But we need to get Wardlow away from MJF, because while Wardlow works for MJF, any title he wins belongs to MJF. So Wardlow can't win anything. Yes, sir.
It's true.
So this is what's going to happen. Wardlow costs MJF something, either a title shot or a tag match with Jericho. However that goes, we're going to see him cost him, and MJF is going to fire Wardlow on Dynamite. Wardlow's going to get in his face, and MJF's going to say, "You don't work here anymore. Get the hell out of my ring, or you'll leave in a cop car."
Oh, God.
So Wardlow begrudgingly leaves and gets taken out by security. He's out. He's gone. We don't see him for a few weeks, maybe a month. Draw this out. He's gone. Like, we don't see Wardlow. There's no mention of him, nothing. But then Cody Rhodes starts hinting at bringing in somebody, the Nightmare Family, he knows can wrestle, that he knows he knows what a good commodity is. So we get hints. And after a few weeks, Wardlow comes out with Cody. And he's gone completely opposite. He's not with MJF anymore. He's with the guy MJF betrayed. He's no longer with
going
his guy.
full circle, bro.
Full circle, exactly.
MJF Cody feud was one of the best ever, too.
Exactly.
So good.
So now we have MJF's muscle with Cody instead. And then we see Cody and Wardlow do a couple tag matches. MJF comes out and starts talking trash. Like, hey, you don't work here anymore. You're a loser. I fired you. That kind of stuff. MJF ends up costing them a couple matches. But Wardlow ends up being the man. He fights MJF one-on-one, and he goes out on top. He beats MJF clean, and Wardlow starts going on a big push. We see him every week just squashing everybody. And while this is going on, Team Taz is in the background looking for an opponent for Brian Cage. When's the last time Cage has defended the FTW championship? It's been a long time.
Yeah.
So exactly.
I can't
So
remember.
Cage is looking for an opponent, and Team Taz is scouting. Taz is on commentary for every match. Oh, he's talking trash. Oh, this guy stinks. He might be a good opponent for Brian Cage. But every Wardlow match, Taz is talking trash about him the whole time, saying, oh, this guy's just a worse Brian Cage. He can't do what Cage can do. Cage was Impact champion. He's FTW champion. He's the guy, right? Wardlow has nothing on him.
I can only
Wardlow starts getting
imagine
mad
Taz,
about this, right?
Yep.
So he starts getting irritated, and he starts calling him out. Like, hey, what are you talking to me about this for? Like, I'm doing my best. I'm winning all these matches. And Team Taz starts coming out because of all of this hoopla. And they end up costing Wardlow when he finally gets an opportunity for gold against Eddie Kingston, because Eddie Kingston and him are in a match for an opportunity to fight Darby Allin for the TNT championship. So you get Kingston, who's, I love Eddie Kingston. He's a machine. You get him and Wardlow in a match. Wardlow is probably going to win this one, and they cost him. They get him counted out, and he's done. Like, he's no longer in contention for the TNT championship. So at this point, he's like, well, you cost me this title. I'm coming after yours.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout this whole thing, Taz is just talking trash. Ricky Starks is talking trash in commentary. These guys are the best at it. And Wardlow's getting more and more frustrated. He's winning all of his matches except for the ones that are costing him. And Taz the whole time is just saying, you're just a green Brian Cage. You're nothing like Brian Cage. He's the man. Poor man's Brian Cage, exactly, Mind Runner. You're a poor man's Brian Cage. You can't hold his jock. Like, he's the man. And so Taz, throughout this whole thing, says, we can't find an opponent. We're announcing a tournament for the number one contendership for the FTW championship.
Nice.
And he's, there's a lot of guys in this tournament that you wouldn't expect. And it's because Taz doesn't want Brian Cage to lose that title.
Look at this. Look at this. I love Will Hobbs' side of the tournament.
Right? If you look at Will Hobbs in the corner there, he's fighting Marco Stunt early. He buries Marco Stunt. John Silver has a chance against him, but he just buries John Silver.
Silver's great. We love Silver, yes.
We do, but Will Hobbs
size
is
disparity,
just different animal.
A good match, though.
And so with Wardlow, they see him as the biggest threat because he is. During his match with Shawn Spears, the whole time, they're just jeering him and they're hitting him on the side on the apron the whole time. They're just going at him because it's their tournament. They can do whatever they want. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you guys saw that match with Eddie Kingston before. He got counted out. Eddie Kingston wants to prove he can win clean, but Wardlow wants to prove, hey, man, that was a fluke. I got counted out against you. So he power bombs Eddie onto Butcher and Blade, and Eddie loses via countout against Wardlow for him to go to the championship against Hobbs. So basically what happens is when Hobbs and Wardlow come out, Wardlow's coming to the ring. Team Taz just brutalizes him. They attack him. They go off the whole time, and we don't know what's going to happen. Now Wardlow is doesn't have his legs under him. Hobbs is the guy that's clearly the favorite in this match now, and throughout the match, it's definitely Hobbs. He looks like he's going to be going against his own stablemate, Brian Cage. So now Team Taz is. Pardon?
I've wanted that in the past.
Oh yeah,
I've wanted to see Hobbs versus Cage.
So now you have Hobbs, either it's going to be Hobbs or Wardlow versus Cage. But what ends up happening is Team Taz gets a little too involved. They throw a steel chair because this is no DQ match. They throw in a steel chair, and Wardlow catches Hobbs an F10 right on that steel chair, concusses Will Hobbs, and he wins 3 count. It's done. So now it's going to be Wardlow versus Brian Cage. And now they're desperate. They're down one of their big men. He's out with a concussion. And so this whole time now you have Taz just ripping on Wardlow. You're dangerous. You don't belong in this ring. You hurt Will Hobbs. This is a wrestling match. You hurt him. This whole time he's just ripping on him. And Wardlow's just frustrated. Wardlow has a rematch with Shawn Spears, and they interfere in this match with Shawn Spears. Ricky Starks hits him on the corner and costs him the match. He gets rolled up and pinned. And Wardlow doesn't even look at Shawn Spears. He goes right after Ricky Starks, throws his head through a table, And this match with Brian Cage is a first blood match.
Oh, wow.
So
Jeez.
you get to see Ricky Starks get opened up. He drags Ricky Starks by the hair of Taz, puts his face in his face and says, "This is what you wanted, Taz. First blood." Throws Starks down, and then you don't see Wardlow until he's back in that ring against Cage.
Wow.
Right. This is a big build. This is going to be weeks, probably months of this happening. So this is
could be
a
the
little
rest of
condensed version.
2021 kind of build.
No
and that
doubt.
would
Well, we
take
wanted
that-
to see Wardlow's ascent in this year. All Team Dynamite download. We've been beating the drum that this needs to be a year where Wardlow breaks out, and we've wondered how that's going to happen. Right? We've talked a lot about him breaking away from MJF and that being a natural feud for him, but. This is a creative way to feature Wardlow's strength. Obviously, you've already kind of highlighted Wardlow breaking away from MJF, and you did it in a creative way there, Bonds, which then it's one thing for Wardlow to break away from MJF, but it's another to say what's next for that guy, because you can't just have him break away from such a great mouthpiece like MJF and then have no plans for him, right? And so I think this is a brilliant idea by you, simply because we've talked about it. If Wardlow's going to stand on his own 2 feet, this dude has babyface vibes. I know that there are people who are chomping at the bit to cheer for the Ward Dog.
Yeah.
So you throw him in this kind of feud, and I know Bonds thinking about the hierarchy of heels in AEW. I know we all agree MJF is way up there, but Team Taz. Bonds is like captain of Team Taz fanboys here at Dynamite Download. You want to hear, if you want to hear Crayfish get on a rant, you'll bring up FTR or Pac. If you want to hear SPD get all excited, all you have to do is mention Murder Hawk, and he starts he just starts beaming. Bonds is a Team Taz slappy, so I know that you like the way your mind is running, dude. Not only will it feature him in the ring, but the commentator, Taz is trash talk and Starks is trash talk. It's going to bring the best out of Wardlow there, isn't it? I mean, he's going to put him in a situation where you're going to want to see him beat the piss out of these guys, right? I mean,
oh yeah, that's the whole point. They're so good at trolling him. They egg him on, and then it comes back to bite him, because now Ricky Starks is out too. So you don't have Ricky Starks, you don't have Will Hobbs. You're down to Brian Cage and Taz with Hook there. Dude, that's
you could have Wardlow just
guys.
destroy Hook too, randomly to have just make Hook just a sacrificial lamb.
Wardlow becomes the one-man wrecking crew that we all know he can be in this scenario. I think it's a beautiful idea because it showcases. I mean, obviously, seeing Wardlow go against Shawn Spears, who I know there's a lot of fans out in our community who want to see some Shawn Spears, but then having him have to go through Eddie Kingston, who we know is tough as nails, and then eventually get to Will Hobbs. I mean, what a warpath Wardlow would have to go on. And that alone, this tournament alone would solidify what he's capable of. And I can't imagine seeing that visual of Wardlow versus Wardlow F10ing a guy like Will Hobbs. I mean, can you picture something like that? I mean, Will Hobbs is the powerhouse.
Yeah.
I think this would be something else, man. I don't know. I love the idea. And we've been clamoring for it, haven't we, SPD? We've been wanting to see the FTW belt mean something. And this would definitely, in your scenario, Bonds, did Wardlow come out on top and beat Cage?
So what ends up happening is a couple weeks go by. This is the main event of Dynamite or a pay-per-view. I didn't get that deep into it, but if we do a special episode of Dynamite, let's call it. Let's say it happens October. It's Oktoberfest. That's fine. It'll be the Oktoberfest version of Dynamite. There we go.
I like it.
Here we go.
And wearing leader hose.
So Wardlow's entrance, he's coming out. He's pumped up. Hook comes out with a 2x4 and hits him in the back of the knees with a 2x4 during his entrance. So this whole time, he's just getting assaulted by Team Taz. Every chance they can get, they're going after him. They don't want to lose that title. So now Brian Cage is just chomping at the bit. He's whooping on him this whole match because Wardlow doesn't have his feet under him. He's a big guy. You have to be able to, have your balance there, especially against a guy like Cage, who I would say the closest person to Wardlow in this business is Cage. Their body types are super similar. They're both big monsters that have good movesets.
Athletic.
And Brian Cage is a true veteran as well, so you're going to have him just go after him. But, he's whooping on him. Taz is throwing in weapons for him. His first blood match, he's just beating on his legs like, you're not going to get up. You're not going to get up, Wardlow. He throws in his title. Brian Cage is holding it up like, this is my title. You're never going to get this. You're never going to have a chance again. This is your one chance, and you blew it. He's just ripping on him.
Yeah.
But then what is happening is Cody comes out when Taz is right about to interfere. Again, he puts him in a Taz mission, and Cage is like, what's going on? He's looking, hey, what's going on? Right? This is how Wardlow comes back, picks up that title that Cage dropped when he was distracted. Cage turns around, Wardlow hits him right in the face, dead center of the forehead with his title. First blood.
I like it.
That's the end.
I like it. And one of the things, you talk about Cody being involved too. Cody, we all know, has kind of a vile history with Taz and Hook.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely motivation there for Cody to be kind of wanting to see Taz get get his comeuppance. I like that. Especially too, when you talk about this being an FTW tournament, we know that Cody has made it very clear that he does not respect that title. So I think, if he could handpick his own guy to represent that belt, and then all of a sudden this belt becomes legitimate now that it's Cody's guy, it would only make Team Taz that much more pissed off, right?
Yep.
All of a sudden this goes from being Taz's mission to legitimize the FTW championship. It gets flipped on its head, and now it's legitimate. Now it's a legitimate belt, but
it's not his,
only because it's been taken from his crew, and it only fuels that anger in Team Taz that much more. I like the thought process there. And honestly, I'll put it this: it sounds very brutal. It sounds like it would be like SPD might be a little squeamish. I know SPD doesn't like the blood, but I think that when you point Cage, and I don't know if you did this on purpose, Bonds, knowing the way your mind works, I think you did, but you just talked about it. Cage is such an industry veteran. Yeah. The way AEW utilizes their veterans, it's only a matter of time where they're gonna want Cage to be involved in a feud where he kind of passes the baton onto the next generation. We see what Matt Hardy, what he's doing right now. We see Jericho. We see, the way they utilize their veterans, it's always to try to give the rub to the next generation. And this would be a great, I don't know if that was your purpose in this, but Brian Cage kind of losing and passing the FTW title and passing on that the Machine moniker, like that kind of thing onto the next generation would be absolutely interesting. I like where your head's at.
Well, plus I think that the reason I booked it as a first blood match as well is because Brian Cage can't look weak losing this belt. I don't want him to look weak losing this belt. He's like you said, he's a veteran.
Dude's
he's
awesome.
Pro's pro. He's awesome. And so when you have him lose like this, you're also setting up potential for more matches. You're setting up another feud with these guys. So potentially more long-term stuff. So who knows? Thanks, guys.
Yeah, well, and like the next like big thing after Wardlow's done with Cage, I think the fans are clamoring for it. SPD, it's Wardlow versus Shaq.
Man.
Big money Shaq.
I love it, baby. All right. It's a great trend. It's a great booking by Bond segment. I really like where that's going, and I think that at some way, shape, or form, AEW does need to take both of these. You did a nice job of interweaving two big elephants in the room, so to speak. They need to legitimize Team Taz with some W's and some get a little bit of fierceness behind them. We've seen some beatdowns and things like that, but they need to really carry a little bit of weight. And the FTW title would be a great way to help push that. And it's only a matter of time, guys, before they go all in on Wardlow, man. The minute I saw that guy on screen, I was like, dude, when I saw that match with Cody and I saw what he's capable of, he's the closest thing to this generation's Brock Lesnar and that I've seen. And I think the dude is capable of so much. He's a star waiting to burst, on the scene. I think you did a nice job of solidifying both those things in one feud, one little angle that you did. That's booking by Bonds. Not bad, Bonds, for your first segment. I can't wait to hear next week's. Anybody out there have some suggestions where you'd like to see booking by Bonds dive in? And boy, man, this was a condensed version because with the text messages that we were getting from Bonds throughout the week, he was just chomping at it. He loved it. If you have any suggestions, make sure you throw it out there. Booking by Bonds. Ali, personally, I'm interested to see what happens with Kenny. I'd love to see who would eventually take the title off of Kenny Omega, because honestly, at this point, the landscape is, we're starting to see some contenders rising up in the ranks, but there's no clear cut. John Moxley's not getting his rematch anytime soon. His focus is on Kenta. I'd love to see maybe that be something down the road. SPD, what a beautiful picture there, my man.
It's like Lucha Libre without his mask. My shades aren't on my face. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I'm exposing myself like this.
No, dude, that's an awesome one. And it just goes to show, why we want Wardlow to be successful. The guy is really, really cool. You had a nice time down there last time you went down there, and you had a chance to interact with a couple of the superstars. I'm really hoping.
Me too, man. We'll do our best to find some.
Maybe we'll see Sammy.
Oh, I think this is a good chance to a little dance transition break.
While we're dancing, if you have any questions that you'd like us to dive into on Friday Night Fights and Flights, I see you all chatting in the chat, having a good old time on your Friday night.
Music video was pretty hilarious.
But speaking of funny stuff, we were jamming before the show started. And if you could buy like the rights to one song give to any superstar, what would it be? Because we were chatting before the show and we were saying, man, never good. SPD, you gonna throw it out there?
Yes.
All right, because you were jamming it to this before the show, and I was digging it. I think that Pretty Peter Avalon needs a brand new theme song.
This is off the vinyl too.
Tony Khan, make this happen.
Make
please.
it happen, Tony. That'd be great.
Pretty
Avalon.
Peter would be. This would be perfect. I would love this.
They should put some wheels on his bed and wheel him to the ring every time.
A little George Michael.
If he still has a bed after what Murder Hawk did,
I know. Well, that would be the perfect way to introduce this song. Pretty Peter is heartbroken because his bed's broken. I love it. Never gonna dance.
And he comes out with a nice little sipper.
Do you we always compliment the entrances of AEW? You feel like anybody needs a fresh up? Do you think you feel like anybody jumps out at you like maybe their music doesn't match the way that they're vibing right now, or no?
I like Cody's old theme better.
Me too,
yeah.
bro.
Yeah, I
me
like
too.
Here's a good question. For music wise, I don't necessarily notice the bad ones don't stick out as much as how good the good ones do. So
there aren't really any that are that I can
bad.
think of that are terrible.
That's true, dude. That's a good point. That's a good point.
That's a great question, Mine Runner. I don't know. It's tough. There are so many good teams, but they're so talented. Those guys, they need to get some sort of push, but they're also 19 and 20 years old. So they have a long time to get pushed. I think that they could be in kind of 50-50 booking for a little while. Have them get some wins against some good teams, also enhance other talent because they're great at that. Mm-hmm. And they're kids and they're great at that. So I think that you could have a lot of things happen with Top Flight where you could have them do some 50-50 stuff and then have them maybe get a couple pushes for opportunities for tag belts, maybe be transitional champions for a little while until they're, a little more seasoned, and then shoot them to the moon because they're great and they deserve it already. And they're,
right.
But they're also young. We have to remember that I think Dante is 19 and Darius is 20 or 21. So,
I think that like Top Flight burst on the scene, and they captivated us with what they're capable of doing in the ring, right? So if it were me, I would want to see them involved with other teams that, you know, help showcase what they can do and kind of help push the pace. You know, I'm so like, you would think that TH2 were main eventers with how excited I am to see them live next week. That would be a great little feud for them. I think that TH2, like, you know, we saw hints of them being frustrated veterans, and kind of being irritated with, you know, these young teams coming on the scene and taking their spot. That would be a cool spot for them.
They claimed
Private Party. They claimed. I love everything about the TH2, bro.
We need to talk to Angelico one of these days.
Nobody matches that dude's like chillness, man. I love Angelico, and dude, Jack Evans, like, I'll say it, like, he's such a great vet. I mean, you go back and watch his body of work. I'm not just a fan of his because of TH2. Like, that dude is legit.
He's legit in the ring.
Dude's the truth, man. And so I'm geeking out to see him in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait. So I think that would be a great undercard feud for them. They need to get some more reps in. I don't think they're quite ready to be. I mean, not to say like, I mean, in ring they can hang with anybody, but they're not as fleshed out as characters and promo work. Obviously, AEW does a nice job of protecting their guys. I think they need a little bit more time to establish that personality. They got a long road ahead of them, guys, man.
Yeah, we got 20 more years in the business.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, even what I've seen out of TNT too, like out of, you know, Devon's kids, seeing like they're good. I like what I've seen out of them. That would be a nice little undercard feud. I mean, the tag division is so freaking stacked in AEW, though. You know, so we'll see what happens, man.
I'm extremely excited to see Matt Sydal and his brother. I don't know anything about Matt Sydal's brother, but if he has half the talent of Matt Sydal, they're going to be very, very entertaining. That match with FTR and the Sydal brothers are going to be extremely fun to watch. You know, I am very high on Matt Sydal. I just listened to the Unrestricted podcast with him on the AEW, which was a great interview. He seems like such a cool guy, a smart guy, kind of off the wall in a little bit, in a good way. And he's all for putting on a great match, whatever it takes. You know, he wants to give the people what they want, as Excalibur says, you know. So I loved his mindset. I loved his his attitude, and I can't wait for that. And he said on the podcast, he's like, I wish I could have a match with my brother. And sure enough, you know, Tony Khan is he
makes it happen, bro.
He's the genie. You rub that bottle, he'll grant you that wish, man.
Well, just look at the main event from this week, guys. He is the genie.
Dude.
Oh my gosh.
That main event this week, you know, we're going down there, and when you're going down to Dynamite, guys, we know. I mean, like, that show is always jam-packed. They always add so much content that we kind of had confidence that no matter what, we went in blind. We bought tickets just going in blind, and it's shaping up like it's going to be a banger show. I can't wait to talk to you guys more about it later. You bring it up, you know, SPD, you're talking about Sydal. I know you're a huge fan of his.
Yeah.
And I just got done talking about TH2 and how much I enjoyed their content. This takes me back to one of our first episodes of Friday Night Fights and Flights, where, you know, there was a question that came up with, like, if you could book any enhancement talent to kind of have a little bit of a mini run, what would it be? Like, who would they be? And obviously, you know, TH2, they're not like, they're signed full time and they've had some great matches and things like that. But let's be real, like, they're looked at as enhancement talent. Their role, even in this upcoming week, their role is they're gonna put over Private Party and Matt Hardy and Hangman.
Yeah.
And we saw Jack Evans was used on Dark just this last week to help give Joey Janela some good in-ring time. Man, that match was really good. And you saw, like, Jack lost that match, but he was used to kind of help show what Joey can do.
That was a really good match.
I know. So I want to expand the idea of enhancement talent. I want to talk about, like, some undercard guys, right? I mean, like, who are some if you could pick one or two undercard guys on the AEW roster that you think, and you don't have to give it anything elaborate answer, but that you think as a fan, just talking, because we're all fans here, that you think deserve a little bit more love or that you'd like to see get a little bit more spotlight, who would they be?
I mean, there's so many you could name.
Yeah.
But
That's why I asked.
John Silver and Alex Reynolds, just because, learning more about them, you want to see them succeed, but they're so over.
They qualify, though. I think
that aside, Sean Spears, Scorpio Sky.
Great answers.
And I mean, I wouldn't say he's undercard, but he's not utilized in a as much right now. But like Ricky Starks,
yeah. Everybody's waiting for that. I mean, like
that's gonna happen at some point.
Everybody's waiting for that to happen, bro.
And I mean, he's gonna get his due, at Revolution. But I still think Sting and Darby are gonna win. At what point? I mean, I guess a good question would be that I would want your guys' opinion on after we talk about the undercard, mid-card talent. At what point do you see the Sting, Taz, Darby feud ending? But I want to talk about that after. So those are there's Scorpio Sky, Sean Spears, John Silver, Alex Reynolds. Those are my answers. I mean, I could list a Rolodex of 50 people.
Right. Hey, I get it. But I mean, those are great answers, and I think it's. I wanted to hear who, if you could pick, because there's only so much TV time. If you could give three or four guys some more TV time, I like those answers. Those are all good. Bonds?
Yeah, I think Nightmare Family, just in general, all those guys, I'd like to see them it matter a little bit more. You know what I mean? Because Lee Johnson was 0-29 until last week, so I'd like to see that matter. You're in the Nightmare Family, make it mean a little bit more. Because you're kind of a handpicked person by the guy that started the company. So, maybe make it a little bit more, give it a little bit more.
Give some more prestige to it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We don't see QT Marshall on TV. We don't, Nick Camarado just got put in, he just got put into the Nightmare Family as well. So you have a lot of guys that are in there that are talented young wrestlers. And I think that they could maybe make that into almost a mini stable. It'd be interesting. There's a lot of options for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that answer. Obviously me, I mentioned TH2. I think that TH2, those guys can put on incredible matches than anybody. I'd like to see them a little bit more involved in the tag division, have a little bit more stake in the game. I know that there's some Sean Dean fans out there. I think that Sean Dean is kind of recently with Carly Bravo.
I love their look.
I like that. I like that a lot, and I think that they're onto something. It's fitting that both my answers are tag teams, but I think that the tag division is so stacked. But I really like that. I think that those two are onto something with that look and that dynamic. Bravo, you could tell, is very confident and comfortable on the mic. So I like that, where that's headed. And I saw Sean Spears. I've seen his career leading into AEW. I was there live when he was against Cody at All Out, and I think that dude has it all. I think that he has the look. He's got Tully in his corner. He can hang with anybody in the ring. I think that Sean doesn't get enough love in the AEW scene. So I like that.
I booked him.
Yeah, I mean, those are just some ones off the cuff.
Yeah.
But I like all the answers from you guys, and I mean, I think there's a lot of like you said, SPD. You can name another 10, 15 people on the roster. I mean, this roster is so stacked, man.
Oh, it is so fun, and it's a shame that's just a testament of. I mean, we're seeing, before we shift in, I just want to say again, thank you again for that cameo with the Captain Sean Dean. That was awesome. That really was something special. We really appreciate that. It's really cool. It's inspiring us. maybe we'll have him on the show one day and we'll interview the captain himself, especially with this new gimmick, this tag gimmick. And granted, they're still kind of on a pretty tough losing streak, but things could change around as snap of fingers, as we've seen with Lee Johnson. But yeah, I think let's circle back to the question that I had. At what point do you see the Sting Darby Team Taz feud essentially closing the book and shifting gears into something else? How much longer do you drag this out? Because this is the Darby versus Taz is the longest running storyline that they've had for a long time.
Yeah, it's tough. I think it's gone a little long too. So
it feels like it. Yeah,
I kind of hope that Revolution is when it's kind of, maybe Darby moves on to a different thing, but it's tough because it feels like we haven't seen Sting in the ring yet, and every week he comes out and does his entrance, and then he gets interrupted. So it's like, okay, you get that cool entrance, everybody gets to see Sting, and then he doesn't really do anything or say anything. So I understand he's 63 years old. It's hard to have him wrestle. You can't have him wrestle every week. I'm not saying to do that, but
no,
there's only so much time you can buy. Having him do his entrance every week and come out and not do anything. So you kind of have to. It's got to be sooner. It's going to get very frustrating.
Yeah, if anybody's reading, I mean, I know that we have some fans of our podcast here who have joined us and stuff like that. But if anybody's reading your column bonds, people know. I mean, people see it. You're trying your best to navigate it with respect.
Yeah,
but it's getting to a point where oh man, it's got to happen. It almost felt like this match would have been a perfect fit at Beach Break, just because there was enough build at that point that it would have worked. I applaud them for trying to mix things up. I thought that the Darby getting dragged in a body bag this last week was good. I thought that was a nice touch.
That was the best segment they've had in weeks.
Yeah, but I'm hoping that that it's over and we can move on to something else. I think all parties involved need to move on.
I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, I want them to do that, but I don't think they're going to end it. I think ultimately, I hope what ends it is Ricky Starks taking the title away, even though they've already had a match. I think Team Taz stripping Darby of the title in some way, whoever it may be. I don't, any one of those three guys could carry the title, in my opinion, and I'd be happy with it. That really would help give Taz some much needed credibility.
Well, I don't know, man, because it's like we talked about this, right? Sheeta is clearly the next champion, in our opinion, who's gonna drop the title, right?
Right. Agreed.
Darby
we don't know. But
Darby is not
maybe Young Bucks.
It could be the Bucks, but Darby hasn't held this belt for very long, and do you drag this feud out that much longer? And I mean, I feel like Darby's got a lot left in his championship reign. I mean, I'll be real. You and I have talked about this, SPD. Everybody's got their own cup of tea. The Darby stuff at times has been hard, especially I feel like I've had to sell you on the Darby championship reign because he's such a non-traditional champion. Up to this last match with Joey, you're not used to seeing a champion get beaten down dramatically at 98% of his match and then win. It's just not he's got that Rocky Balboa thing where he just gets beat to a pulp and then finally sneaks a W at the end. That's endearing. But it's not helping. I know it's been a struggle for you as far as helping build his star power.
It's not sustainable either.
Yeah. And so this match with Joey was great. And I think that Darby needs to have, and that's why Ricky's a great opponent, SPD.
I need to record what you just said.
I hope he did. I think that Darby has, we saw with Joey, had, a different side of him that came out. And so Ricky would be a great opponent. I would love to see him go against some guys more his size. Maybe we just talked about Sammy Guevara.
I was getting it ready.
breaking out as a star. And I mean, what a match those two could have against each other, man. I mean, like, can you imagine what those two could do in the ring? I don't see Darby dropping the title anytime soon, unfortunately. I mean, I just don't see that.
They'd be really kicking themselves doing that. I mean, they built him so much just to have him lose his title that fast.
Especially going over Cody in that way. I mean, dude, you beat Cody. He is the bar in this business as far as AEW is concerned. But I see a lot of fans. I see a lot of fans are kind of like us, where they're the Sting stuff starting to have diminishing returns a little bit. So I think that they do need to pull back a little bit. And this goes back to what we talked about at the very beginning of the show, dude. Sometimes less is more, man. Like Sting does not need to be coming out every week.
They don't need to have him on the show. They just let it sit for a week or two. We know they're gonna have a match.
Some of the best stuff with Sting, if we go back to his like run with WCW, some of his best stuff with Sting, he didn't say anything. He just stood in the rafters
for a whole year.
He stood in the rafters
for
and
a year.
Watched. I mean, the dude has a mystique and an aura to him. Let that happen. I mean, like, I don't know, man. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think that the street fight, I think some of the fans here have been talking about it. We are genuinely perplexed. Sometimes AEW, it feels like they book themselves into a corner. I truly don't know how you book this match. I don't know who win. I don't know how you do it. I think obviously Team Taz, you're going to put over Sting and Darby, or do you let the numbers advantage win out in a street fight for them, where you see like Hobbs get involved and Hook get involved, and like that's how you get out of it, right? The Sting and Darby still look strong, but Team Taz wins through numbers. I don't know, man.
You can't.
What did Mind Runner say?
It'd be a crazy visual.
Read what he said while I give this point. I don't think. I mean, we've talked about it before. You can't bring in the Icon Sting just to lose his first match, even though if he does lose in a street fight, it won't hurt him. But it's the same thing with Rio. I think they booked themselves in the corner. Like, you can't bring someone, the ex-women's champ, in just to lose to Serena Deeb, who's a perfect contender who deserves to win.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. You want to talk about the shift into the women's? You know, let's take a break for a second.
Fix this up. You got to keep it light. We're transitioning.
We have awesome power.
I love this song, dude. I love it. What a change. Oh my God.
I'll throw up the tournament graphic real quick for the bracket, and so we can talk about that.
Potatoes. I want potatoes to get involved in the street fight somehow too. Open up like a dumpster and have just.
I want the potatoes and I want Dippin' Dots too. So I still have a screen recording from it was almost a year ago.
Yeah.
And I remember recording it because I thought it was so funny how it was the Inner Circle versus like the
Dippin' Dots.
You know, they were putting over not the Dippin' Dots. I'm gonna find it.
That is one of the best. That's one of the best moments in AEW history, and they have a lot of great ones.
That was a great haul. Like, oh my goodness,
like,
not the Dippin' Dots.
All right, so let's jump into the women's tournament, because SPD, you were talking about how sometimes the AEW books themselves into a corner.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Hager and Dustin, for the love of God, stay away from the Dippin' Dots. And Bud Light. Now, Hager with the low blow. The undefeated MMA fighter, Jake Hager, in his first match setting up against Dustin.
Here we go.
Oh, no. Oh, not the Dippin' Dots. Damn, get him back.
The Dippin' Dots didn't do anything to anybody.
That's heat right there.
Oh man, I love it. I love it.
I'm gonna post that on our Instagram as a reel, just because that's this. Oh gosh, it's pure
so
gold.
Good, man. It gets you every time.
On Twitter.
I love it.
So as we stay focused, let's look at the women's bracket. What the damn Dippin' Dots. I'll never eat those the same again.
Sammy, let's take a drink.
All right.
Oh, I'm gonna finish this brewski.
Okay, as we are looking, I mean, this isn't filled in with the Thunder Rosa, so we have next on deck, Serena, Deeb, and Rio. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna just kind of stay in line, and next week we'll get Nyla Rose and Conti, and then Brit Baker. But it'll be very interesting what we see happen on Monday, because this for me will be the first time I'm really getting to see any one of these Japanese stars in the ring. So I can't speak to that, and I'm excited to see what's in store for that. So Monday we'll have a lot in store. That's kind of, I was reading why Shida hasn't been there, because she's over in Japan kind of producing this and helping this out.
That's cool.
It's great, but ultimately you're still like, they should have built this in a perfect world. They should have built this where Shida's watching like every match essentially. Or
I like that idea.
Get her on TV. Get her on TV just to watch the match, or at least like every other one, show her being like kind of scouting, or even like the semifinals, have her get on commentary just to put in a couple things. I don't know how comfortable she is with that, but
this is one of your pet peeves, SPD, is that like, and that's why you've struggled with the women's division for the majority of our time at Dynamite Download, is that Shida has not been showcased in a way that is fitting of a champion of her caliber. It's just not. It has not done the division any favors.
Mm-hmm.
They're insulting their own belt in a lot of ways.
And that's why I've been clamoring. I mean, that's why I've been clamoring. You put it on a dynamic personality like Brit Baker. She's, you can you imagine the waiting room segments with her having the gold. She's got the charisma that is fitting of a champion. I think that's what's missing right now. So I understand where you're coming from, but let's be real. When you look at this tournament, man, the personalities aside, the in-ring content is just unbelievable. What we're gonna get, the matchups are awesome, dude. I mean, you're gonna see Thunder already beat Layla. Thunder Rosa is gonna go against either Serena Deeb or Riho. So you're either gonna have Thunder Rosa go against the first AEW Women's Champion or the current NWA Women's Champion in the second round. And both of those, like, either way, we've seen Thunder and Deeb have freaking banger match before, just absolutely amazing. Both those girls are absolute pros. Both wrestle with a purpose. I know Bonds, I love reading your column when you get a chance to talk about Thunder or Deeb, because you're like, you see it through the same lens I do, man. You see like just such a purposefulness, such a push, a drive in their matches. That's just it's impressive to see.
Definitely.
And then dude, I mean, like Brit Baker versus Anna Jay. I mean, I think that Anna is somebody who is another example of like a sleeper talent. Both her and Ty Conti are both sleeper talents. Ty is getting a little bit more love because I think people will see that jiu-jitsu background that she has. Like that girl
in her matches.
Who wins? Let's go through this first round, guys. So we already saw Layla Hirsch versus Thunder. SPD. You and I are gonna have a friendly bet. Whoever, like, who do you think is gonna win this match between Deeb and Riho?
I'll bet you a Sammy drink.
I was gonna say I'll bet you a beer. My beer. I'm picking Deeb.
All right, I'll go Rio.
All right, so I'll go Deeb.
I was leaning towards that just because I'm gonna stay consistent with the fact that like you bring someone back just to lose. I think you create heat. She's ultimately gonna lose again anyways to Thunder. So it's either you're gonna lose in the first round or you're gonna lose in the second round. So that, to each his own. But I do think it would be a more compelling story to have Serena versus Thunder.
I think the story
could be like a grudge match,
Yep.
one trade wins. So
And then it can set up another match for another title match as well.
So I'm going to just say Rio because of that.
I think that Riho, you could blame a loss on ring rust. You could blame a loss on the fact that she's going against a legitimate champion. And to be honest with you, the story, like if you have Riho win, I mean, yeah, like having her go against Thunder is awesome and it's compelling and it's something we've never seen before. But you're putting two fan favorites against each other in a way that, like,
True.
I don't know. I feel like if you're going to go all in with Thunder, the story there is you have her like conquer those 3 goals that she set out. You know, I don't know. I think that the writing is on the wall that Thunder and Serena need to get in the ring again, and I put my money on Deeb. I think that that match is going to be awesome. What about you, Bonds? Be the tiebreaker.
I would say Serena Deeb as well. Mostly for what you said, Mike. I think that having Thunder versus Deeb in the second round is more compelling. And when I look at brackets and I try to determine what they're doing with brackets, I always look later in the bracket to see what makes the most sense. And to me, in that second round, what makes the most sense to me is Thunder Rosa versus Serena Deeb. Yeah. That's the best matchup for any of the matches in the second round. Mm-hmm. At least on the American side. I don't know enough about the Japanese wrestlers, to be fair. I don't. But on the American side and the AEW side, you have like that's a grudge, like, you know, that's a potential to tie it up and then have another grudge match in the future where you get another title change.
Exactly. And
so,
you listen to Thunder Rosa's promo.
Yeah.
Her 3 goals, right? If she can say that, okay, yeah, you beat me for the title, but we're 1-1 now.
Right.
And yep. I want a rematch with you for the champion. I mean, it just further solidifies her case. I don't know. I think that there's meat on the bone there. So I'm feeling good heading into this week's bet.
All right.
Thunder versus Deeb, second round. All right, now we're going down the side of the tournament. And again, I don't know about you guys. I don't feel comfortable talking about the Japanese side. Now I'm going to watch.
I don't either.
And I'm going to learn. I think that's the best way to approach. So many people on social and in the world these days feel like they have to be the authority on everything. I will be the first to admit that I don't know enough about that, and I'm interested and I'm curious and I want to see it.
Me too.
I look forward to becoming fans of some of these talents. But I'm going to stick on my focus on what we know and what we love, and that's AEW, and that's what we've seen. So let's go through the U.S. side of this tournament, and let's talk about it. So Conti versus Nyla Rose. Now, SPD, this is another example where, like, man, Nyla Rose has not been on television in a long – I mean, as far as, like, when was the last time we saw her in a feature match like this? Had to have been when she lost to Shida at the last pay-per-view. So Nyla versus Conti, where do you go with that?
I would pick Nyla. I mean, Conti's not ready yet. I mean, I think she is growing a lot with her in-ring stuff. Unless there's some kind of like distraction that they throw in a swerve where Nyla gets distracted and then starts the sidebar feud, which can make sense. But yeah, I agree, Brian. Nyla can't take many more losses. I mean, she is a force, and that's another scenario. You know, if she doesn't lose in the first round, she's going to lose in the second round because we know Brit and Thunder are going to be in the semifinals on the finals on the American side. So it's to each his own. When do you put her to the loss? And I don't think Conti is ready to take a clean victory over Nyla. If there's some kind of distraction in that sense, I'm all for that. And then you can have Brit take down Tay after that, you know, because ultimately we know Brit's going to beat Anna Jay. But this is a stacked first round for sure.
What do you say, Bonds?
Could go
I
both
agree
ways
with
in almost any match.
Sorry, SPD.
You're good.
I agree with SPD though. Like Nyla, I think has to win. I don't think I've seen Nyla Rose win a match since I've been working with you guys on Dynamite. She hasn't been on Dynamite. Something needs to happen, and I think that this is a perfect opportunity. And then you can even look forward in the second round because if Brit Baker's there, you know there's going to be interference. There's interference in all Brit's matches.
Yeah.
So you have an opportunity to
protect Nyla.
Nyla Rose, you have an opportunity to, have her win in good fashion against Ty Conti, and then you can have her lose in a way that doesn't hurt her with interference from Rebel, whatever.
It's
and then
Rebel,
everything's good.
not Reba. All right.
Whatever.
All right. So again, you guys. So you guys are zigging. I'm gonna zag. I think that Ty wins this one. I think that
okay.
I think that she's got a groundswell of support. I think that she's trending in this direction. Nyla is a little stagnant right now, and yeah, she's got a name and some star power behind her. But I think that the way that this storyline, again, talking about the future brackets, if you have Brit beat Anna, the compelling story to me is Brit going against Anna's best friend, and kind of like having that natural progression of Ty wanting to get revenge. And wanting to beat Brit and kind of giving her that extra motivation, it would make Brit that much more of a compelling heel. Again, Nyla is a heel. Nyla's got Vicky in her corner. Now Vicky and Brit on the mic together would be gold. But to me, I look at this and I say, well, the Dark Order is very clearly, they are the home team of AEW. They are the baby faces. And if you're going to push Brit as this like nasty, dastardly, egocentric heel, you have her run the gauntlet against the ultimate baby faces. You have her beat Anna. You have her beat Anna's best friend, Ty, and maybe do it in a humiliating, like nasty way. But like, can you imagine, to me personally too, I think the matchup with Brit versus Ty would be so much more entertaining and compelling, because I feel like it would put Brit in that power position a little bit more and allow her to be that nasty heel that we saw her in the Thunder match. And you're going to make, like, when Nyla's in the ring, whoever's against her is kind of all automatically going to be the underdog.
Yeah.
And that's not what AEW wants. AEW does not want Brit to have that sympathy, especially if the semifinals is going to lead to what we think it should, Brit versus Thunder as a rematch. I think that you push this feud on the Brit side of this bracket with Brit being that nasty, like manipulative, like cowardly heel, and you have her beat the Dark Order, kind of the besties of the Dark Order. And it makes that story that much more compelling, because you have Thunder, who we all agree. We had that post on Twitter today. We all agree Thunder is as compelling of a babyface as it gets in wrestling. Period.
The cream of the crop.
Her story, the way she wrestles, her presence in whenever she's on screen, you want to root for her. So I don't know. I mean, yes, I can see why you guys pick Nyla, because if Brit goes over Nyla, all the critics have to shut up. And they have to say, like, damn, Brit beat a beast. She beat the native beast that she's that's
incredible win to date, probably.
No doubt. But like, no doubt, son. But from an in-ring perspective, I think that the match would be more compelling. I think it would be more. It would fit Brit's wheelhouse more, make her feel more comfortable, put her in a power position.
She's not the underdog,
and it would make it so that she's not the underdog. And I don't think that that's where they want to go. So that's how I would book it. If you're doing, I don't know. I got to figure out a segment for Crayfish, but
crayfish, there we go.
Yeah, no. Booking with Bonds is perfect, but yeah. Thunder Rosa, baby. So
songs. Oh my god.
Thunder's song makes you just want to jump off the couch and scream, baby.
Oh yeah.
So who do you guys got, man? Who do you guys got going? Brit versus Thunder. Who would you pick? This is the ultimate. This is the ultimate question. I think a lot of fans are going to be struggling with that one.
I think you gotta put Thunder over.
It's a win-win. It's a really, I mean, you can't lose at this point, but you really have to. I think you got to put. I mean, we've seen it and said it. Brit is the next champ. Period.
That's my opinion. But now again,
I mean, she can shift gears. Like, I don't know. I just hope ultimately Thunder gets signed in some kind of fashion. The dream booking that we said was like she wins the tournament and then gets presented a contract and then can eventually take the belt. And then you could do some long-term storytelling against Brit, how she's like, I got the belt, I beat you, and then they ultimately have a feud, a long stretch feud again. I don't know. But I think the way AEW is going to go with it is Brit Baker is going to win the tournament and win the belt at against Sheeta. So are we going to see the finals of this at Revolution, do you think? Answer that after your pick.
Wow. Well, my pick, I mean, I love both of them. I think that Thunder and Brit are both phenomenal. But man, from an in-ring perspective, I actually do think that Thunder versus Sheeta would be a more fun matchup to watch. I think that like Sheeta versus Thunder would be like the most fun to watch, just because I feel like Sheeta is such a powerful striker. Thunder versus Sheeta would be a great like back and forth match. But
agreed.
But I've been clamoring for Brit to be the champ, and as Brian said, she's the homegrown AEW talent. She is the face of this division, and it's about time that she gets a shot at holding the belt. I mean, she's done so much to, I think, keep this division afloat while they were trying to figure out their identity. Mm-hmm. I think that Brit deserves it. You can't just, like we've talked about, like MJF deserves a title and stuff like that. You can't just throw belts on people.
Everybody. You can't.
I mean, everybody's got to have their time, right? But this takes me back to our interview with Thunder.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I got this vibe from Thunder that like she understands that everything in life has its place, and there will be a time when Thunder is going to be the AEW Women's World Champion. There will become a day where she is so undeniable that eventually she is going to have that belt. But I think she understands that time is not right now. I think that she understands that her role is to have a freaking amazing blood feud with Brit.
Yeah. And
her purpose will be to push Brit to become what she can be. My opinion.
I was, like I said before, I still think it'd be cool to see Thunder in that awesome, like, get signed, win that title. That'd be great. And that's kind of what I wish would happen, just because we want her to be all elite. We want her to get signed. I tweeted on my Booking by Bonds Twitter today. I was like, you need to be all elite. You're already elite. Now be all elite. To her, you know what I mean? Yeah. And but I think you're right, Mike, because there's a natural build to another match between her and Baker potentially. So you could have Baker win the belt and then immediately transition into a feud with Thunder Rosa. And then you kind of have the best of both worlds. You don't have to, because if the only thing that makes me question that is because right now Brit is one up on her already. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's beaten her multiple times in a row. It's dubious. So you kind of have this, you know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see. I think you guys are probably right. It's probably going to be Brit.
She didn't win fair.
It's going to be a good match no matter what. I think it'll be interesting.
I think that what should happen, and I think that this goes back to what SPD said in last week's show, is I think that what should happen is, and I think a lot of fans will be pissed, but I think that Rebel needs to, again, get involved in some way, help Brit win, and then that immediately, I mean, Thunder at that point, we know how much fire she has inside her. Can you imagine if Rebel costs her this ultimate opportunity? Like, then you pivot it where it's like, all right, Brit becomes champ, and in order for Thunder to get a shot at Brit, she's more than happy to go through Rebel, and I think you have Thunder just rip Rebel apart and scare the bejesus out of Brit, and you put her on notice, and you build for that to the next big pay-per-view, Thunder versus Brit. So, all right. So, guys, we just did some. I mean, I think that the women's championship tournament is something that we are ecstatic about. Let's get into next week's show, and then we can field another question or two. If there's another question while we're talking about next week's show, we'll answer another question, and then let's wrap this baby up.
Yeah, I think the main thing I just want to talk about is just the recent announcement of the main event. I mean,
Yeah, bud.
we are, like you just said earlier, how every Dynamite is a jam-packed, eventful event to go to. You know, if you go to a live event like us, I mean, it's outstanding. And as soon as they announced those 4 matches, when you're talking about the Young Bucks versus Santana Ortiz, the 8-man tag match with the Hardy Party plus Hangman and TH2 and Chaos Project, and you have the Rio and Serena Deeb. These are almost pay-per-view quality matches, FTR and the Seidels. And then you have this one announced: Moxley, Archer, Phoenix, Kingston, Butcher, Blade. OMG. My mind was blown. Literally, I was doing the Kermit gif going like this because I was so excited for this one, because I was just happy to see. I was crossing my fingers we would see the Murder Hawk.
Yeah, me too.
And then, of course, you know,
and you get Phoenix.
Ray Phoenix is, to me, his in-ring performance is unmatched right now. I mean, you cannot. I don't know who puts on a better show at this point. Yes, I love Archer's like dominance and strength and the way he just like methodical and storyline, but just the wow factor, the chops, the spins, the airtime, all that stuff. Like, this one is going to be pretty interesting. And you know, the way I think this goes is, obviously you have Archer, Mox, and Phoenix on one team. That is a team. And I said this about the same team with Pac minus Archer. Those 3 should never lose versus anyone in the world at this point. And I say that for Moxley, Archer, and Phoenix too. Those team, nothing against Butcher and Blade and Kingston. They're on top of their game and great, but they should really just tear through them just because of the pure power. I think you will see that build towards Kenny and Archer, or you will get some interference that will really further it. This isn't going to just be a clean 6-man tag. This is going to get dirty. It's going to get rough. It's going to get physical. It's going to, spew onto the crowd. It's going to have a lot of interference at the end and things like that.
You're right
So
about that.
it's going to, as they're doing it, it's going to just lead to put gallons of gas on a fire that is outstandingly burning, very bright, that I am in love with right now.
Yeah, and I think this could be, like you said, I mean, the coronation for, I mean, we're seeing Archer trending in the direction of becoming the number 1 contender for Kenny. Obviously, this feud with Kingston and his family has not been put to bed. And I think this is going to be a great opportunity for us to see that animosity and that anger building. I mean, can you imagine how angry the Murder Hawk is right now? Dude, I'll be honest with you. Seeing that much star power in the ring and the way the different styles in this match. I mean, like, I love when I get to see Butch against Lance, because Butch is such a big boy and a strong dude. But when he goes against Lance, it accentuates just how much bigger and just Lance is such a monster, bro. He's huge. So I love that, and I think that like that team on that side of the match, the styles between all 3. You got the brawling nature of Mox. You have that like big man, like monster. That's Archer, and then just the ultimate. I know, SPD, you're smiling right now, brother. The ultimate high flyer and Ray Phoenix.
Ray Phoenix. I just thought of that. We're going to see Ray Phoenix and John Moxley intros
In the same match. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Wow,
So
Justin Roberts better be drinking that tea. And honestly,
and seeing Moxley and Lance lose last week the way they did, this is going to be a great way for them. I think they're going to come out on top this week. I think that this is going to be a great way for them to reestablish their momentum. I do agree with you that we might see Kenny, we might see the Good Brothers involved in some way. We might see SPD love that moment. We might see Pac involved in some way, shape, or form. You don't know. Kenta, you never know. So
Yeah, I agree, boys. I think that this is gonna be this is gonna be an awesome match, but I think that it's gonna be kind of one-sided. I think that these guys are gonna be mad, especially Lance, because he got 4-on-1 teamed up on at the end of the match, and it's just gonna be a bloodbath. It's gonna be great.
Yep, can't wait.
so this is how I'm booking it. Just off the, I'm gonna be thinking about this, the whole plane ride and everything. We're gonna just be so jacked about this. So I agree, Archer to take the pin, and then as soon as the pin and they're celebrating, Good Brothers and Kenny come out. Boom, they're out there just whooping everyone, even Moxley and Phoenix. Then you have Pac come out. And start Strombo. Then you have Penta reemerge. And then so Penta's coming back.
Oh my gosh.
And then you have this full-out war in the ring, and it's just like an absolute tear. So you have but ultimately standing tall at the end will be the Murder Hawk.
You would fantasy book that. You would.
So yes, the Good Brothers and Kenny start to beat up Murder Hawk and Moxley and Phoenix, and you have Pac come out, and then you have Penta come out, and then they all stand tall as Ghost fades to black.
If you are telling me right now that I somehow magically get to go to an AEW show with my best friend and see Pac and Penta come out in this main event, I will lose my freaking mind, dude. You'll
have your voice lost by 8:22.
You're calling that, brother. I'm gonna be drinking green tea all week, son. I'm prepping. I got cough drops. I'm ready to go, man.
Make your Gollum juice, Mike. Got to get some honey in there. You get a nice hot tea.
That's it, bro. I am ready.
We'll do a lot of live stories on our Instagram. If you don't follow us, Dynamite Download. I'm going to do a lot of live stories there, so it'll be like the most up to date. We'll find out what we're going to do for. We're going to need to bring potatoes. I don't know if
mash them, boil them, put them in a stew.
I don't know if
man.
security will let us in, but. So, Brian, stay tuned, and everyone stay tuned. We're trying to figure out details of what we're going to do. We will do some kind of live pre-show at Daly's place, maybe around 7:15, just on I think Instagram or YouTube, whatever is the easiest the way to do it with our phones. So stay tuned for that. We'll do that. And we'll go from there. I mean, we're extremely excited. We're going to do a full video of what it's like to be at Daly's place. I know I was down there last month, but we're going to do it together with the Dynamite Download team and all there together. But we're extremely excited. This is, we're riding into Revolution, like pedal to the metal. I mean, it's hard to book that card. As we keep saying, all right, we're going to end on here, but let's end for real.
All right,
book Revolution.
Oh my
not
God.
Counting the matches that are already there.
Wow, Bonds, I'm going to let you.
Here, how about you say book 3 matches?
Bonds, if you could book. Okay, all right. So we already know what's going to be on the card, right? Like, well,
we don't. Card.
Well, no, we have the street fight. That's it.
That's the only thing that's confirmed.
Well, okay. And no Young Bucks and Inner Circle.
That's not confirmed yet. Don't you dare write off Santana and Ortiz like that.
Inner Circle versus the Champs is booked.
All right. So, Bonds, what would you say?
So you're going to love
3 more matches.
I want to see Lance take on Kenny.
Okay.
I want that so bad. That's like my top want in wrestling right now.
Okay.
All right.
He's been on fire. I want that. It's great.
I agree. Two of my absolute favorites.
And I want to see the women's tournament. I want to see that in Revolution. I want to see the top
finals?
bracket. That's definitely something I want to see. And I hope it is. That'd be a really wasted opportunity for that not to be that. But that's definitely something I want to see there. And man, I got to think about the third one. There's a lot of options.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of options here. I agree. Third one's the hardest. You take it, Mike.
Third one's always the toughest, bro. So I
mean,
know
it's going to have 6 to
Yeah.
7 matches. I mean, Crayfish, we watched Revolution last year in
Yeah.
Indianapolis together, and one of the matches that was very unexpected, Pac and Orange Cassidy really set the bar extremely high. This was like the turning point for Orange Cassidy for me, because he held his own and then some against Pac, and we know we don't need to toot his horn anymore, which we can. I'm all for it, but that match was outstanding. So, oh shoot, you're right.
I
Mind
don't have
Runner.
anything left. I got a little bit of bourbon in here, so
Thank you for reminding us, Mind Runner, on that. So,
It's been a minute.
I think I'm going to agree with you, Bonds. The Kenny Archer one for sure. That's definitely one I would book, and you just put that on a card with if it's Young Bucks and Inner Circle and the street fight. I mean, that pay-per-view is salivatingly good already. And then they're going to do so many things. And that's a good point too, Mind Runner. OC Chuck, and that'll hopefully that feud finally just comes to an end, in my opinion. It's ready.
You're not
but-
enjoying it?
As I'm thinking, I need to think a little. I think you will have a slow build to FTR and Jurassic Express.
okay, that was gonna be one of mine for sure.
So Kenny versus Lance, FTR and Jurassic Express.
That'll be an awesome
If you have
match.
one, spit it out, because I got to think of a third too.
Well, FTR versus Jurassic Express was on there. I think that I would, and again, this would take some dominoes to happen, but I would put Brit the final of the women's tournament. But I would put the Young Bucks versus the Good Brothers, and I would put
Okay.
but I would put Inner Circle, like I would put Santana Ortiz versus MJF and Chris Jericho. I love that they're building that this could possibly happen. I think I'm so geeked about where that story is, and if Santana Ortiz win, and we see that like the culmination of all that drama happen at the pay-per-view, sign me up. So I would pivot in that direction, and then to me, we have not seen. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we have not seen Pac, Penta, and Phoenix against Kingston, Butcher, and Blade yet.
No, we haven't.
And we've gotten little mixes of everything. But I think that if we move where I think we're moving, you're going to see Archer ascend to this feud with Kenny. I would love to see a 6-man with the Death Triangle versus Kingston's family. I think that the writing's been on the wall for that. I love Pac. I mean, the Death Triangle, I feel like, is a stable that never. I mean, like, I don't know if they're cursed or not, because they're just too damn good that we can't see them all together. It's just
Right.
it's just too much for television. But if you could somehow get that crew to, I think that match would be absolutely epic. I think that they would beat the crap out of each other. It would be so fun to watch. And I would mark out hardcore. So those would be some matches that I would throw on there. I would love to see storyline wise and obviously in-ring action.
Do you think they would throw some kind of gimmick match, like a not a tag team, like a battle royal or something, kind of gimmick match for the number one contender of like the TNT championship, to have like a quick pivot?
I mean, they do have the street fight, so they might already have that.
That might be their plan.
But like have a pivot to kind of, because you have the tag title and you have the women's kind of going, and then you'll have a title defense if it's Kenny and Archer.
You're saying for like to give
a number one contender.
Yeah, to give
Gimmick
a
match.
lot of to get a lot of talent and opportunity to be on the
They
pay-per-view.
always
Right?
do that usually.
Some sort of buy-in match would be a good idea.
You could Dark Order versus Hardy Party.
Yeah, Mind Runner. That was a great call, because that's what I was going to say for my third one. That's what Brian mentioned. That I was like, man,
I honestly wasn't even seeing that. I was thinking that, but you beat me
That's
to
a
the
great
punch,
call.
man. I think Silver Reynolds, and you add 10 versus Private Party and Matt Hardy, and then it's almost like they're fighting for the friendship,
I can see that. Yep. I mean, that storyline is one of the bigger ones on AEW across the board. So that would make a lot of sense to have that at the pay-per-view for sure. For sure.
This is exciting stuff. Stay tuned, guys. We're on to our Instagram and Twitter, and we will update you on our plans. Crayfish and I are still doing, brainstorming and stuff as to what we're going to do while we're in Dynamite. And we're going to sail off into the sunset and with cheers to Sammy.
I got to open up a new one. Hold on a second.
I don't have anything left. I need to bring more beers next week.
Yeah, you need to always have a 6-pack, Mike.
I had to take
always
a
a 6-pack.
I will have a 6-pack for next week's show. I will, and I probably need it because, as Sean said, I'm going to be pretty coarse. So, so
fix that throat.
Yeah, I will. All right.
Right off to the sunset with this one.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us, you guys. You have no idea. It's so fun talking to y'all.
Thanks, guys. You guys are awesome. We do this for you guys.
We need a beer sponsorship. I love that, Brian.
Hey, send those booking by bonds ideas, guys. Send as many as you can.
I love you guys. You guys really make me happy. I hope you know.
Hey, we'll definitely not forget about you. You guys will be our number one priority when we're watching us on. If you guys have Instagram, it's easy to watch our stories on that. At Dynamite Download, post a ton of different stories that aren't on Twitter. So follow us on Dynamite Download, and we will definitely be posting those things most up to date. And we will be doing a ton of stuff while we are in Jacksonville. We get in late Tuesday night, and so we're going to go and do some footage. Maybe we'll do like a pre-show while we're there. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a jam-packed week.
SPD, sure. I know that you're going to be thinking of great things. You're going to put.
I got an itinerary plan, bro.
I have a feeling you, Sail Away with Sean. I'm going to have a great time with this guy. It's going to be a blast. So I can't wait to share all the good stuff that we're going to have on social. And keep them coming, guys. We're inching closer to that 1,000 follower mark that we held as a benchmark on Twitter. And it's so obvious. We love you guys. You guys are great. Marco stunt heel turn. I love it.
Just watch Batman Forever and you'll know the story I'm going to make.
All right. I just I posted the Dippin' Dots video on Twitter, and Dustin Rhodes liked it. So it's definitely bringing back some memories on that. So you guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your weekend, and we will talk to you guys.
See you guys.